Good afternoon, y'all. How you doing? Hope everybody's having a good day today. So I was thinking about the relationship dynamic, and something that I think that I see as a prevalent issue that is more of an issue than what it should ever have to be, is friends of the opposite sex within relationships. And I've seen many of situations, many of relationships, many of people who were once single now go to be in a relationship, but then still carrying around all these friends of the opposite sex and still being in contact with a lot of these people. And a lot of these people aren't just friends. They're people that they've had feelings with, people they've been in intimate relationships with, people who have, friends who have had crushes on them or vice versa. And this is an issue that shouldn't be an issue, but it's only an issue because this person didn't handle and deal with these particular relationships prior to getting in a relationship. This person didn't dead those relationships. If you have been intimately involved with someone, or someone has liked you, or vice versa, or someone does like you right now, or someone you had a crush on, anything, when it comes to the opposite sex, you must dead those relationships before getting into a new one. Your new person, your new significant other, especially if you're looking for something meaningful, should never have to question who this opposite sex friend is to you, why they contact you all the time, why y'all so close. Like, this person shouldn't have to question, foul behavior, favor that don't look right, things that are questionable. But a lot of times, a lot of people get into a relationship but still carried around all these connections from when they were single. When you're in a relationship, your whole movement needs to be different. When you're in a relationship, there's no need to be attached to all these people of the opposite sex. And people with good intentions in relationships, when they're really looking to really connect with the person that they're with and build upon that relationship, naturally these relationships fall to the wayside, or they should fall to the wayside. However, you get a lot of people still trying to be entangled with someone from the past, and it's odd to me. It's so odd to me, but it takes maturity, it takes growth, it takes understanding. It's not blaming your significant other, the person that you say you want to be in a committed relationship with. It's not blaming them and saying, oh, you're insecure, or you're being jealous, or you're this, or you're that. I personally believe Yah gives us a righteous jealousy over our significant other, especially if we're looking to be married. Yah gives us a righteous jealousy. Like, you shouldn't be okay with the opposite sex being all up in your significant other's face. If I had a man, trust and believe, I'll never be okay with a woman being all up in his face, or a woman hitting him up on a regular, especially if I don't know this person. If you are going to have around friends of the opposite sex, they need to literally be just that, friends. No ulterior motives, no romantic history whatsoever. But generally speaking, y'all, if we're to be honest, 9 times out of 10, when it comes to these, men and women trying to relate to one another, somebody's done like somebody somewhere along the line, if not both parties, and that's the type of situation, type of connection that you should not be trying to bring into a relationship with someone. Even if you are literally just platonic friends with this person, has never been anything more. If for some reason your significant other has an issue with this person, if something just doesn't feel right, then you need to respect that. You need to consider your relationship above all relationships. As the word says, what Yah has brought together, let no man separate. Because sometimes we might not see nothing. Like, maybe our significant other will think, nah, this relationship doesn't make me feel comfortable. I don't like it. I don't trust this person. And we might be like, but what do you mean? There's never been anything there, at least nothing on my behalf, but trust and believe. Look, women know women. All right. And women know when a woman trying to get close to her man in a way that she shouldn't be trying to be, if she's trying to ask for a certain level of attention from our man. All right. Just like you brothers, when a man has ulterior motives with your woman, right? So to sit and act like it shouldn't be a problem, or they're just being jealous or insecure when you try to blame shift, or you try to project the reality of the situation, the fact that these friends of the opposite sex shouldn't be that close to you. When you try to flip it on them and make them feel bad for it, you are in error, and you know it. No person who genuinely cares about the person they're with and really wants to protect that relationship, no one's going to be okay with someone of the opposite sex and they're being all up in their face, trying to get their time and their attention, trying to ask for attention that they should never have access to in the first place. So if you want a genuine connection with someone, if you're looking for marriage, you're going to have to cut off a lot of these friends. And I don't mean like every single friend of opposite sex has to go. But if your significant other doesn't know them, if they aren't friends with them as well, like y'all aren't all friends together, and that they actually have a decent relationship, if they're not okay with it, then this connection that y'all have, then this person has to go, right? This person has to go, and you should understand that out of respect and consideration of your relationship. Again, like me personally, if I'm looking for marriage and I find a man that I really believe that y'all has been, waiting, has had me waiting for, someone he's been molding and sculpting to be the man, first and foremost, that he needs him to be for his perfect will for his life, but also to be my husband. If I find that man and he's not okay with my male friends and trust and belief, I will be making adjustments. Now, granted, I socialize with a lot of males, but I'm not in contact with a lot of them. The few that I am in contact with, there's literally no romantic feelings whatsoever. Like my friends I go shooting with or whatever, there's no romantic feelings whatsoever, at all. Not on my behalf, at least not on my behalf. Granted, I can't speak for other people or what they might have going on in their heads, but there's literally nothing there on my behalf. I don't look at them like that. However, if I get in a relationship, and granted, I would make sure that they know each other. I would be sure to introduce them, right, to each other. But if my man, if for whatever reason is not okay with the connection and makes him uncomfortable, sure, I'm going to want him to elaborate, like, okay, what do you mean? Like, what is it that bothers you or whatever? Because I want to understand. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to argue with him about it or try to make him feel like he's insecure, that he's wrong and he's just being jealous and that, he should just deal with it. No, I'm going to cut that friend off. Because at the end of the day, no relationship, no friendship is going to get in the way of what y'all has for me. For me and my husband, as the word says, when a man meets his woman, he shall leave his father and his mother and cling to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. So we no longer function with a singular mind frame, a singular mindset. We no longer sit in this relationship where we are one and we sit and act like we're still separate beings and that we should only consider ourselves. No. When we move as a unit. And when we move, we think of each other. We consider each other. We don't try to make one another feel bad for feeling a certain way about in front of the opposite sex. Because at the end of the day, if I had a man who wasn't bothered by other men being close to me, I would question whether or not he truly feels the way he says he feels about me. Because just as men are territorial and they don't play when it comes to a woman, men who genuinely love their woman, we women are as well. Make no mistake. And I'm not playing with no woman all up in my man's face or asking for the type of attention from my man that she ain't got no rights to, the attention that I'm supposed to have, right? Because if a woman's trying to be in my man's face, she either doesn't have a man or she keeping that on the hush from her man. Because if she had a man and he knew what she was trying to do when it came to my man, he would never be cool with it. Let's keep it real, y'all. A lot of the times, the connections you see out here, somebody doesn't like somebody somewhere along the line, if not both parties. And, generally speaking, not every man is really trying to be real good friends with a female friend without really having some ulterior motives. Now, granted, there's certain exceptions to the rule. However, generally speaking, a lot of men aren't really just trying to be friends with a woman. And I know from experiences, through other stories, and through this whole relationship studying and just seeing different scenarios and situations play out, a lot of men will pretend to be your friend just to get close to you, ladies. A lot of men will pretend to be your friend, but will be willing to give up 10 years of a friendship with you for one night in bed with you. Make no mistake. So really be mindful of the connections that you have, both ladies and gentlemen. Be mindful of these connections. If you're not ready to let go of these connections, these of the opposite sex, of the ones that we're clear about that need to be let go of, or if you're not ready to, let these female friends or male friends fall to the wayside, or be placed on the back burner for your connection with your significant other and your one day spouse, then you should ask yourself, do you really want a connection? Do you really want a genuine, loving relationship where there's nothing but trust and respect for one another? Do you really want marriage? Because at the end of the day, no relationship on God's green earth should take place of your relationship with your spouse. No relationship out there should be more worthy than the relationship that you're trying to build with your to-be spouse. All right? So be mindful of the connections that you entertain. Anyone of the past, they gotta go. If y'all don't got any kids together, y'all don't need to have any contact with one another. If you think it's okay to have all these text buddies, I don't know how people make time for all these text buddies. Some people, in their singleness, they have all these text buddies, entertaining all these people, talking to people on the phone and doing all this text and stuff because they like the attention that they get from this opposite sex. They like that sexual energy and that pull and that allure. First of all, if you was out here really pursuing your purpose, being busy in that thing and doing what y'all has for you, you wouldn't have time for these relationships, all these different connections. Honestly, you wouldn't even want them, because if you're spreading yourself thin with all these different men, ladies, or fellas with all these different women, and you're just anywhere and everywhere, you're not really trying to pursue something wholesome. Because when you want something wholesome, you're going to dead any situation that you realize, no, this ain't it. Okay, I saw there was potential here, but no, that ain't it. You wouldn't be stringing along all these different connections and feeling like you need to be validated and given attention to from all these different people. All right. And that's just as a single. But more particularly, most definitely, you shouldn't have any of that going on in your relationship. Again, it's time to switch it up. When you are in a relationship, you no longer can move around like you are single. When you are in a relationship, your whole movement needs to be different. It needs to be respectable and considerate of the relationship that you have. And as a good rule of thumb, if you wouldn't be okay with them doing it, then guess what? You should be doing it as well. All right? Really consider y'all's relationships in these days and these people that y'all call friends. Because a lot of time we lie to ourselves. We know there's something more that there shouldn't be. Or we know when it's a prospect. Or we know when it's someone who's just really looking for an opportunity, waiting on the opportunity to be had. All right? So really consider this in this day. Because again, I see this in a lot of relationships. Sabotaging something that could be so beautiful, the love that they were always looking for, that one solid relationship and love and that marriage that they say that they wanted, but because they kept dealing with all these other opposite sex friends is the very reason why they ended up losing it. All right, word of encouragement, food for thought. Take care.